Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Next Level webinar. We're really excited to be here to present to you Office 365 and what it can do for your business. Really appreciate you taking your time for the webinar. It does go for a little while, but it covers a great deal of the applications within Office 365. But first of all, before we go any further, I'd like to introduce some of the team members that will be presenting today. So I have Deepti, who's my operations manager.
Hello, everyone.
And I have Catherine, who is in our marketing and security team.
Hello.
And we also have Cole, who's in the States at the moment, but he's joining us from the States. So without further ado, let me, just by the way, we are recording this session, so it will be posted on our website after the presentation. So without further ado, let's begin the show. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about who Cloud Made Simple is. We were known as Simple ID, and it still is our company name, but our brand has changed to Cloud Made Simple. We're a full managed service provider, so we do the whole end-to-end IT managed services. We have 35 staff. We're employing new staff in New Zealand as we speak, which will be full technical support team. And we've got staff in Australia, UK, US, and in Manila. We have dedicated engineers from a managed services perspective and for Office 365 and for the different elements of Office 365. And we offer 24/5 support because we've got staff all over the world. We have got 24-hour support, and on weekends it's sort of emergency support. We specialize in Microsoft technology. We're a tier 1 Microsoft service provider, and there's not a lot of them around. So we've met all the criteria that need to be met with Microsoft. So we're a big Microsoft player. We specialize in Office 365, cloud services, Skype for Business, SharePoint, Power BI, and many other Microsoft solutions. And we're going to be talking about those solutions today in some detail. So I just want to go through the agenda. We're just going to be talking about some of the challenges facing IT. We see a lot of businesses, and there's some real common elements with the challenges for IT, and Deepti is going to be taking us through that. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of Office 365. For those who have got it, show you what applications you can use to run your business. And for those who don't have it, it's a great exercise for you to say, hey, these are great applications that we may be able to use for our business. I'll be talking to you about data storage, and that's regards SharePoint. We've got Cole, who's going to be talking to you about Power BI, and that's getting the most out of your data. We're going to talk to you about communications, Skype for Business, because you can use Skype for Business as your telephone system, full telephone system. We've got Catherine, who's going to be talking to you about cloud security, and we're going to talk to you about how it all fits in together. And finally, if there's any questions that you've got, we'll do our best to answer them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you on to Deepti, who's going to talk to you about IT challenges.
Good afternoon, everyone. So for this next section, we're just going to be talking about a lot of the challenges and the questions that we get asked by businesses. So we speak to businesses on a daily basis, and we try to find the best solution for their business. Based on this, we've found that most businesses have some common challenges, some of which we'll challenge throughout the course of the afternoon. But most of the common ones that people are asking questions around, like the areas that they're asking around, are the following. So the first one we have is storage. So maybe you have, a file server or keep files on your PC, or even use Dropbox. But what's the best way that your data can be stored, and how can your files be organized so that those that need access to it within the organization can have it in a safe and secure manner? And also what tools are available. So if you're using Dropbox, what's the alternative? How can you use something that everybody can have access to? The next one is communication. So with remote working becoming more and more common, and a lot of staff being out on the road, how can staff stay connected whilst traveling in an easy and efficient manner? how can communication overall be made easy internally and externally, and what tools are available, so that we don't waste a lot of time trying to find who's available and who isn't throughout your working day. The next one is your company data. So data is, so in terms of when we talk about data, we don't talk about, results, etc. We talk about your customers' data. So how can the data be collected in a quick and efficient manner and be presented and used? And then how can it be visible to all within the company? So a lot of data is there for your managers and your execs to use, but how can it be visible to everybody within the company so people can see the life cycle of your customers? And this is where CRM systems come in. We won't be talking in depth about a CRM system or presenting a demo today, as there are so many CRMs, and we use Dynamics, but it's such a big beast, Dynamics. If anybody does want to talk about CRM, that's the one bit that we won't be touching on today. But feel free to drop us an email or ask a question on the chat, and we can organise a one-to-one with you.
That's okay.
Oh, sorry, this was the actual CRM bit. The company data over here was about your results, etc. So data is a new currency in business. So are we actually using the data in the way that it can be used, and are we getting the most out of our data? So where do you actually, how do you store your results? How can everybody see how you're tracking on with your KPIs or against your target or your year to date? So where do you actually present this, and how can people use this to actually get more sales? So we've already talked about CRM, so contact us if you do want to know more about CRM systems. And then cloud security. So one of the biggest barriers we hear to cloud adaptation is security, because not everybody understands what cloud security actually is. What are the myths and truths facing this? Because there are so many, but which ones are actually correct? And how can your environment be made secure? So if you're using the cloud or you're not, how can your environment be actually made secure for you? So Catherine will be speaking to us about cloud security and what this is. And finally, we'll be talking about how can everything come together to work for your business. So there'll be a lot to take on board and a lot of different systems, but how can it all work for you, for your business? This is just a final slide to kind of give you a bit of an idea of why we're actually doing these webinars, because this is a survey that was taken like last year, and it was the tech challenges faced by growing small businesses. One of the main challenges that businesses do face is understanding changing technology needs and what products and services to use. So we took this survey and we looked at it and thought, well, are we doing enough to educate our customer base on why they should move to Office 365 or how technology is changing? Hence, this afternoon, through the course of this afternoon, we'll be talking to you about changing technology and everything that's available there for you and your business.
Really, and thanks for that, David. I just want to touch on Office 365 for 5 seconds here, and just this is these are the applications with Office 365. So most businesses at the moment are just using Office 365 for mail, and that's great because the platform works better than our old platform, and it's got a 50 gig mailbox and Outlook, and it works a treat. But Office 365 is so much more. So you can see here the number of applications that are here. Now, the ones I've got in red are the ones that we're actually going to talk a little bit about today. So that's OneDrive, SharePoint, security and compliance. There should be another one under Power BI, but that's okay. There is so much more. So with Office 365, you also get your Office applications such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And the great thing about that is that when Microsoft release the next series of software, whether that's 2019 or what year it's going to be, it automatically updates. So you don't have to go and buy a new CD or download the latest version of Office. It will always be the most up-to-date version. There's so many other applications too, which we won't be touching upon today, but we're more than happy to talk to you. So there's things called Teams, which actually brings SharePoint, it brings communication all into one spot. So it might be where your marketing team all talk together. It might be where your sales team all talk together. And it's where you actually keep all your particular documents and can share it within a team. There's bookings. Microsoft have launched a full-on bookings engine within Office 365. There's Planner, and Planner is project management, and it's a great tool for small businesses, so you don't have to go out and buy other project management software. You can use Planner. There's forms. You can build online forms within Office 365, put on your website. It's a great tool. And then you've got something called Flow, which is actually setting up different, what's what I'm looking for here, DD?
Different tasks and automation. Yeah, it's a really good tool if you want to look at automation and how you can have little workflows for tasks that you might do on a daily basis between applications. So there's lots of pre-made ones that are in there, and you literally browse through it and just find which one you're looking for.
And so if we understand Microsoft's strategy, their strategy is Office 365. So they're only going to spend more and more time building applications within Office 365. For example, within the next 6 months, they're actually going to be launching a financial model within Office 365. So it's really future-proofing your business by having Office 365 as part of your business. There's other parts of it, which is Dynamics, which is the CRM part. There's Skype for Business, which you don't see the tile here. And we're going to be talking to you about those applications today. So the next bit I wanted to talk to you about is actually data storage. We actually find that this is one of the biggest things business want to talk about. And I just wanted to show this slide because I think it's just good to reflect how far we've come. In 1956, we had our first IBM basically put the first data storage unit together, and it held 5 meg, and it was the size of 2 refrigerators. So in the last 60 years, we have come a long way to where we are now. And if we look at what SharePoint is today, SharePoint, you get 1 terabyte of data as part of your Office 365 subscription. So where do businesses store their files today? Some on their computer, and if you're storing your files on your computer and not backing them up, we need to talk to you rather urgently. There's network attached storage, which is what we call NASs, which are just small devices where people store their data. There's a local server, where a lot of people store their files today. And of course, there's the cloud. So we're going to be talking to you about how you store your files on the cloud, and it might be an opportunity for you to actually get rid of your local server and the costs associated with doing that. So let's ask some key questions about your data. How secure is your solution today? How often are you backing it up? Are you backing it up with tapes, or what is your backup strategy? Who has access to it? Where can they access the data from? Where is your data? What is your data and disaster recovery plan? Is it scalable? And what is the cost? And so these are all really key questions to ask. I mean, data is so important, and I think we've all got to ask ourselves the question: if the worst came to worst with your current situation, what would you do to retrieve that data? What would you do if your data got lost? So I think we have to come up with a solution that's going to work for businesses. So if I'm talking about comparing common storage, for enterprise and large organizations, a lot of businesses now are going to the cloud with Amazon, Microsoft Azure, Rackspace, or Google Cloud. For the small to medium businesses, many of you, I'm sure, are using Dropbox, Google Drive, maybe Box, SugarSync. And what we're going to talk to you today is OneDrive and SharePoint, because it's actually part of your Office 365 subscription. So what is SharePoint? It's a collaboration platform. It's an intranet. It has 1 terabyte of storage per organization. And in fact, we can actually upsize that to 25 terabytes per organization. It's accessible anywhere. It has seamless collaboration. It has enterprise-grade security and compliance. and it is a fantastic place to store your documents. So just a few facts about it. Now, 50% of the Fortune 500 companies have and use SharePoint. 83% of companies using SharePoint depend on it for document management. 75 of intranets were built on SharePoint in the last 5 years, and over 50 community businesses are now using SharePoint. This slide's a few months old. There's actually over 80 community businesses now using SharePoint. So what I want to do now is explore Business Hub. So what we've created is an actual template that sits over the top of SharePoint to make it really easy to use. Because SharePoint is a beast of a product, and if you set it up yourself, which you're more than welcome to do, it can get a bit messy. So what we've done is create this template. So,
just while Gavin's loading that, for those that have just joined after the initial slide, the question and answer session is open. So throughout any of these presentations, if you do have any questions, please feel free to just type them on your screen, and we can answer them as we go along with the topics.
Fantastic, thanks, Steve. So what you can see is here now our we call it Halstead Manufacturing. It's a demo tenant, and we can actually show you now what's our Business Hub looks like. There's two parts to it. So this is the tiles across the top, which are the categories, which you would put your documents. So you've got finance, human resources, marketing, operations, and sales. You can change the names. We can change the names to whatever suits your business. So there's two parts of it. There's the intranet, and then there's the file storage. So what we've created here is a shared calendar. We've created a project timeline where you can actually use this for project management. We've created a staff directory, and we've created a news feed. And that's something you can do, especially if you've got staff remote. You can actually use this to actually communicate amongst your team about certain events. But what most people use it for is actually storing their data. So you'll see here we've got our marketing portfolio in here, and this is where we keep all the documents within the company. Now, the great thing about this is it's all permission based. So for example, if there's people within your business that you do not want to have access to marketing or finance or certain documents, you can actually set permissions that they won't have access. So back onto the home screen, you'll see across the top here, if, for example, I didn't want to give Deepti access to finance, for example, she just would not see that finance category. And if there's files within the finance category you didn't want her to see, they won't actually see those. So every file is permission based. So we'll go into marketing. So again, this is where you're actually saving your files instead of having them on a server or a NAS. You can go into here and we can see this. We click on campaigns, and it's got some fantastic features here. First of all, you can click on here and we can share a document directly from here. So if I want to share a document, instead of actually sending it from my Outlook, I can actually just click it here. I can choose to, I've got some options here. I can set the specific people I want to send it to. I can allow editing, and I can actually even set an expiry date. So for example, if I was sending a document to a contractor and the contract was only for a month, I could set an expiry date. So after that date, they would not have access to that particular document. So once I've applied those settings, I just shoot that off, and they will get access to this particular file within SharePoint. There's plenty of other fantastic features. You can set up alerts. So for example, I want to send this document off, and I want to know when someone actually reads that document or actually changes that document. This will allow me to know when that actually happens. So I'll tell a story that happened a couple of months ago when I sent out a quote to a customer, and I was following the customer up, and I said, "Have you had a chance to look at the quote?" And the customer said, yes, well, I have, but I just need a bit more time to evaluate. Well, whilst I was on the call, I could actually see that he had just opened up the document. So I knew at that point he hadn't read the document, and I knew where he was on the sales cycle. So I could give him another week before I actually followed him up. So you can actually see when people open documents and when people make changes to documents. It comes with full version history. So on this particular document, you'll see that there's been 2 versions of that. The old version, if I want to, I can review that, and then if I want, I can restore that version. So it comes with all this functionality. Now, the big thing about this is you'll if we go back, we'll go back to marketing. You don't have to log into this all the time to see your actual documents. There's a thing called sync here, and if I press this sync button, it will give you the option to sync all the folders that you want to sync, and they actually sync to your actual file explorer. So you'll see here, this is OneDrive. This is for personal documents, but you've got here the documents here for marketing that I've already synced. So instead of actually logging into SharePoint all the time, all my documents are sitting on my local computer being synced to the cloud. So as you can see, I can go into campaigns, and here were the documents. So if I was just wanting to work normally, I would actually just click on these particular documents, work. Once I've saved them, they're backing up to the cloud. So I don't then have to go log in to the SharePoint. Now, there's one thing we talked about was, this is SharePoint, is OneDrive. Now, OneDrive is actually the same as SharePoint. The only difference is OneDrive is where you keep your documents that you don't want to share necessarily with the rest of the company. So these are the documents that I have got. This is Halstead Manufacturing. So these are Garrett's documents, and he can share them just like I showed you before. It's exactly the same principle in sharing documents with someone, but these are my files. And again, you get 1 terabyte of storage for each OneDrive. So there's no need to put anything on your desktop anymore. And if you lose your computer accidentally, or obviously you'll lose it accidentally, but if it gets stolen or lost, all your data is actually easily captured by just logging on to any computer anywhere with your credentials, and all your documents are there and saved. The other feature about this is your applications on your mobile phone. So there's a OneDrive and a SharePoint application on your mobile phone. So all these documents you see are actually stored, because they're stored in the cloud, you get access to them through your mobile phone. So now when I travel around, if I go to Sydney for the day, I don't even bother taking my computer. I just take my mobile phone, because all my documents and everything are accessible from there. So let me get back to here. I'll go back to here and go back to presentation.
Just there.
Just there?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you can see that. We press that little file there. So that's a bit about Business Hub. If you want to know more information or have a personal demo about that, if you just go to our website, which is cloudmadesimple.co.nz, there's a book a demo, and you can actually just book a demo of Business Hub there, and we can take you through it in great detail there, or just give us a call. So the next part we're going to talk to you about is getting the most of your data. And Cole, we've pre-recorded this particular session, so Cole is going to take over from here.
Hello everyone, I'm Cole Johnson. Virtual greetings to you all. Oh, here I am. I've probably spoken to many of you over the past few years, or you've seen some emails come across from me. As Gavin mentioned, I am the marketing manager here at Cloud Made Simple, and today I'll be talking with you about data, business data. A Scottish writer once said, "He uses statistics as a drunken man uses lampposts, for support rather than illumination." Many modern businesses still do just that, using data to support rather than drive their decisions. Data is valuable really only if it helps the company make better decisions. Your organization might be sitting on the world's largest pile of data, but it's really useless unless you have the means to translate it into insights that drive your business. So the bottom line here is, your company data is telling a story. Are you listening to it, and can you see it? Let's take a quick look at an example here. Tourism Australia. Their goal is obviously to attract visitors from international countries to iconic sites around Australia. Until recently, their forecasting, campaign planning, and business reports were scattered across more than 200 different spreadsheets and documents throughout the company's organization. They had tons of data, from marketing campaigns to finance data, even the government data on immigration, and they needed a way to centralize this data so members of their team could use it. So they started using a business intelligence and analytics solution that captured, analyzed, and visualized all of their data from all different areas of the company. And it's transforming the way their decisions are made at the company. They went from a very disconnected, inconsistent, and inefficient setup to one in which any executive can open a dashboard from any device and see immediately how different areas of the company are performing. So this essentially is business intelligence. Business intelligence, I'll refer to it as BI. It's the use of advanced IT technology to analyze data and increase organizational value. BI turns your raw data information into actionable knowledge so that you can maximize your internal efficiencies. So think about the way that you handle money at your company. You don't want employees wasting funds, so you give them a budget to understand where the money goes and what the fruits of it are. The same kind of thinking should be applied to data. Data is king in today's economy and should be harnessed to understand what's really happening in your business. So let's talk about a few benefits of business intelligence. Today we live in a world where organizations collect and store huge amounts of data. If that data is not put to good use to serve the company, it becomes a heavy and expensive burden for the organization. It's really easy to get lost in all that data, as the analysis process can be really long and tedious. But with BI, the process becomes optimized and automatic. Users can get knowledge that will improve their decision making in just a few clicks. BI is not just for large corporations anymore either. It's for small business too. You could actually argue it's a better tool for small business because, as you know, in a small to medium business, you have less people who are wearing more hats, which means they can more easily pull the information they need quicker. Also, getting visual is one of the best ways to explore and understand data, particularly when presenting it to customers, partners, or other stakeholders. Most BI tools use compelling charts and infographics, like we'll see in a little bit, and they do it for you so you don't have to spend time on chart formatting and design, because who has time for that? Lastly, BI helps you grow your business by revealing some trends in your past performance that might otherwise go unnoticed. And it can also help you see where you can unlock new growth opportunities. So let's talk about what tools are out there for businesses to use to help visualize and interact with their data. There's quite a few, as you can see from this chart, that offer a lot of great self-service BI tools. In this report from Gartner, the leaders in the top right quadrant are what you want to focus on. They're the all-around strong product leaders. And they offer a wide range of functionality to a wide range of customers. So here's what to really look for in a business intelligence solution. Is it a solution that can grow with you? And what kinds of data connectors does it have? And can it connect to all the sources of data you have? Does it have great visualization options? Does it integrate well with other software or programs you're already using? And is it easy to share with colleagues, partners, and customers? The most popular choices today among small to medium businesses for BI tools are Tableau, Power BI, and Clipfolio. You might have heard of a few of these. And today we're going to take a live look at Power BI, the Office 365 solution for business intelligence. But before we jump into that, you should know that Power BI is one of the most powerful tools on the market today, and then they're continually improving it. And it can connect to almost any data source. It can connect to Excel files, databases, files that are on your server or in the cloud, and can automatically connect to software services you already use like Smartsheet, MyOb, Xero, Salesforce, and so many more. So let's jump in now and take a further look at Power BI. The Power BI app can be accessed from within your Office 365 account. Power BI automatically opens to your main dashboard, and we're going to start by taking a look at a report called Customer Profitability. The first tab in this report is our team scorecard, which focuses on the performance of 5 different salespeople in the business. All this data is actually being pulled in from Salesforce. And as you can see, we have different charts that show revenue by person, by month, and by region. The second tab in this report shows a way to analyze our profitability compared to what's going on in the entire industry. The cool thing about reports is they can be interactive. They can be filtered in a lot of different ways. So if we select the energy industry to see how we compare there, you can see all the charts change across the board. We can also filter to see gross margin by each salesperson in that industry. Let's take a look at one more report. The first tab of this sales report I'm opening here is actually pulled in from an Excel spreadsheet. All the data is coming from there, and it shows our data is sliced in many different ways, such as sales by product line, deal size by product line, and status of orders. And again, we can click on a month here and filter to see our data change. I'm not going to click on the contacts tab within this report, and it just shows you how you can use maps to quickly identify trends for customers and sales. A few more tabs I'll just breeze through real quick. We've also brought in data from Google Analytics to give us insight into how many people are clicking on our website, where they're coming from, how much time they're spending on our site. So those are reports. Reports are basically all the different graphs you want from the data that you have. Now we're going to open a dashboard. And this dashboard is for the sales report we're looking at. So a dashboard is meant to be a quick overview of these reports. It won't have as many of the graphs, more just the ones that you want. So if you're the CEO of your company, you might want to see a dashboard for only certain departments. But if you're the CFO or a head salesperson, you might want to see only the dashboard for the company finance stats or for the sales stats. The great thing about Power BI is you can restrict which users see which data. We can also share dashboards or reports with other users, including external users. We can do it easily by providing them a link, which is a custom link. It only lets them view the dashboard and nothing else within your Power BI account. It's basically just a web page with your data there, but the data is actually live, so it changes whenever anything changes from your data sources. We can also publish the dashboards to a SharePoint page, to a web page. You can put it up on a TV screen in your office like some customers do. So there's lots of things you can do with your dashboards and lots of ways to give access to them. I'll go back to the customer profitability dashboard to show you one last cool feature about Power BI. Using the built-in artificial intelligence, we can ask a question about our data. So let's say we want to know the total revenue by product by executive. So you can see this pulls up a graph that we didn't actually put together at all. We just typed in, and it connected all these data points by basically the names that are in your column or rows of your data source tables. So this is data that already exists, and we didn't do anything extra to create it. So this just shows you what you can create on the fly within Power BI. We can then pin this graph to our dashboard if we want. The last thing about Power BI is that the data is automatically refreshed every hour or as often as every minute. So if a user is viewing a report from that link that you sent them, that data is actually going to refresh automatically for them. If you have it up on a TV screen in your office, it'll refresh. If you have it on your mobile phone, you can access it there and it will refresh. So as you're using applications like Smartsheet or MyHub or Salesforce, the data you're entering will be automatically pulled into these reports and will refresh to include the new data as often as you'd like. So I know I breezed through a lot very quickly in this demonstration, but I hope this gives you a good overview of what business intelligence is, what it can do for your business, and a little bit more about Power BI, the solution within Office 365. And would be happy to do, if anybody wants a further or deeper dive into this, just contact me after the event and we'll get that sorted out for you and set up a time to chat. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Gavin to take it from here.
Thanks for that, Cole. That's really good. It's a fantastic product, Power BI. The next thing we're going to talk to you about is unified communication. A lot of businesses out there have been using other VoIP-based systems, and Microsoft have their own, and it's called Skype for Business. So Microsoft, a couple of years ago, actually bought Skype, and Microsoft had a system called Link. They bought Skype, and they've called it Skype for Business. I do know for a fact that next year they are changing its name again, next March, I believe it is, and they're going to relaunch it, but I'm not allowed to say any more about that. Anyway, there's going to be big news on the Skype for Business front next year. But we do, at Cloud Made Simple, we use Skype for Business for our entire phone system. So last December, we got rid of our traditional voice, and we actually moved it all to Skype for Business, and it integrates with Office 365. So it's a fantastic tool. You can use it for audio conferencing, you can use it for video conferencing, and you can use it for web conferencing. And sort of wish we had used it for web conferencing, because we've had 20 people or so not be able to join today because they couldn't join the link, and we should be using the Skype for Business web conferencing. You use it for instant messaging, for telephony, and for voicemail. So it offers you the full gamut of telecommunication products and services within one tool. And I want to talk to you a bit about that. So it has the full bit of IPBX features. So, for example, if you want to set up mini groups, like one for support, two for sales, etc., that's all part of it. It's deeply integrated in with Office 365, and then you can access it from tablets, IP phones, headsets, and smartphones. So, for example, when I receive the call, it rings on my mobile because I have the mobile app, the Skype for Business mobile app. So I use that as my endpoint. So when people call me, I actually pick it up on my mobile, but it's actually part of the Skype for Business telephony. So I just want to go through some of the features of it. It integrates with your calendar, has voicemail and unified messaging, and it has a wide selection of IP phones, headset, conference room, speaker phones. It comes with a whole. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think the great thing with the integrated calendar thing, it comes back to my point earlier about knowing who's available and who's not. So if you had a meeting within your Outlook scheduled, it would actually talk to Skype and it would put you as not available. So it cuts down a lot of time when you're working in different offices and people are trying to put calls through to you. So you can actually see who's there and who's not. And that feature is also available on regular Skype for Business as well, not just the phone, the PBX side of stuff, but your normal Skype as well will do the exact same. So it talks to Outlook. So it's a great tool for presence management.
That's a good point, actually. I should have made that. Is that Skype for Business is available as part of your Office 365 subscription now. So you can use that for video conferencing. You can use it for, instead of using GoToMeeting, you can actually use it now as part of the Office 365 SKU or license. The added feature of full PBX calling is the extra cost on top of it. So it has, again, it's all done, setting up the call forwarding and all the different features is all done from a web portal. So it's really, really easy to set it up. And once you do that, we actually manage that for you. So if there's, at the time you want to go set that up, we work through that with you. As we talked about, it has PSTN conferencing. And again, as you see on the left-hand side of that slide, when you send out an email, when you set up a meeting, it actually sends you the link which says join the Skype meeting, but it also comes with a list of local phone numbers. So if people don't have Skype for Business, they can actually just call in using one of those numbers. So it is really flexible for a mobile workforce, it's just a fantastic product. It also comes with analytics. So this is a great way to actually see what's going on in your business. So we obviously have this, and if I take it to the next slide, you'll actually see the dashboards that it comes up with. So you can see when you're receiving phone calls, how often. It dives right in down to the agent level, so you can see what an agent has, what calls he has made or he or she has made or received. It tells you when you obviously got busy periods which helps you with planning for staff. You can obviously with sales calls, using Power BI, you can actually bring this information in using Power BI. You can actually link it to salespeople, their sales versus how many calls they're making. So you can really start seeing, is there a correlation between the amount of calls they're making versus how many sales they're getting? So you can start using the whole Office 365 suite of products to actually get a really better insight to how your business is actually working. There's one part I skipped over really, really quickly, and that was basically about presence management. One part of Skype for Business, which you have access now to, allows you to see who's actually on and who's not on, as in who's live, who actually is busy, who's actually sitting there idle, or they're doing other things. So it's great from a business perspective, especially if you've got staff in different places. You can actually see whether they're actually working or not, which from a boss's perspective is a really handy thing. This is back to analytics. Just another dashboard here. And you can see on the right-hand side what I was just talking about there. So you can see in red means they're either on a call or they're busy. You can see yellow is that they're off at the time, so that they might be on a break or they've actually finished their shift. And you can see the ones that are green are actually available. And so at the top of the dashboard there, you can see that how many agents are logged in, available agents, answered calls, dropped calls. So we use this to run from our KPIs perspective. So it's a fantastic tool that you can use with this. So, and again, with the reports, you can dive right into the data. It's got a great reporting features, and basically you can build whatever reports that you want to. So all the data is there about all your telephone calls that you've made or received, all the agents that are logged into the system, and you can actually build whatever reports you want to see that.
And the report builder is literally just there in the actual feature of the analytics side. So you can build templates. So you can obviously save one template and then reuse it. And there's no kind of limitation to how many you can actually build in there.
Yeah.
And then you just create your own dashboard depending on the templates that you're then building.
And again, if you want a demo of the system, please just either give us a call or you can go to our website and book a demo of all the products you've seen today. And more than happy to take you through it one by one. So that's the section on that. What I'd like to get Catherine to talk to you about now is cloud security. And this is a really big topic. And I don't want to steal Catherine's thunder, but we've seen a lot of businesses get hacked, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And so, if you could just take this pretty seriously, I'll get Catherine to talk to you about this.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Now, I want to talk to you about security. So when I put this presentation together, I wanted to think about not only your decision-making process when it comes to moving to the cloud and how you think about security and what are the barriers perhaps preventing you from just moving to the cloud. What are you thinking about when you think about security, and how I can talk about those topics and talk you through what are the myths and how to dispel some of those myths. But I also really found it important to talk about security in general, and that is how you can not only the cloud security, but how you can fortify yourself now. What actions you can take now to somewhat bolster yourself against the security threats. So I'm going to dive in and just sort of talk about the myths. And one of the biggest myths that we're encountering in this business is that our users are assuming that they're not targets because they're usually small to medium businesses, and they unfortunately it's I'm too small, I'm not going to get hit because I'm not turning over huge amounts of money like Samsung or Apple or anything like that. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Small to medium businesses tend to be the highest targets, just because they can't really do anything about it when something like that happens, when they get hit, and they usually pay up. So that's the first myth I wanted to dispel for you. The other part of this is, which makes small to medium businesses such a high priority target, is that they don't spend much on their security. They don't rate it very highly. So when it comes to infiltrating their systems, it's quite easy. So that's, we look at, so the facts on the screen will say, 62% of, 62% of attacks are hitting small to medium-sized businesses. That's huge. And cyber criminals target businesses because they have poor security, like that slide says. So move on to the next slide. So what happens when you do get hit? The first fact is going to say 60% of small businesses fail 1 year after a major data breach. That's a significant number. So let me put it in this context. If you have a customer list stolen from you and that gets out, that's kind of damage that we're talking about. There are so many things that a compromise can do to your systems that will wreck your business in many ways. And it's a lot of the time, sometimes we're seeing, people's data leaving and they're not sometimes seeing the repercussions, but what you have to understand is that data has been completely compromised. You don't know where it is. You no longer have control over it. The average price of a small business to clean up a major breach is significant. It can be up to $1 million. So like I say, it's like not only have you lost that data, but now what are the repercussions for your business? What are you going to have to pay to clean up the problem? So we'll move on to the next slide, and this is what ransomware looks like. A lot of people ask what it looks like. This is ransomware. So we've had customers hit by this particular virus. It's called WannaCry.
And Kat, just ask you a question, because a lot of businesses think that there's actually people out there just targeting individual businesses, but that's not necessarily true, is it?
And that's correct. So something like WannaCry was automated. So it was deployed in a very automated way. So it's like a snippet of code trawling the web looking to infiltrate your system. And so there's no one going, oh, I want to target, this company. It's just they just send this thing out blind. And then once it finds a system that it sees it's vulnerable, it'll try and break into the system, and it'll just try and guess your password, basically.
So tell me what are some of the things in a business that, or what vulnerabilities is it looking for? So is it for old websites that are not up to scratch? So if you could just say a few things.
Yeah, absolutely. So something like that would be looking for. So this was infecting my XP systems. So if you had an operating system that was out of date, those were particularly vulnerable. So out of date software is a really big problem, because what happens when a developer releases an update for a system, they're basically plugging up all the holes that were found or were revealed and are shared among criminals on the web. They're blocking that up. So when you have an update for a system, update it, because it's usually making the software better, but it's also plugging the holes. So let me just explain sort of how this works, because it's quite interesting, and it'll sort of get you understanding how it would work and how you prevent something like this. So obviously keep your system updated. If you see something like this on your screen, this will spread through your entire network. So you've got to shut off your computers and then call someone like your IT company like us, and we will help you through getting rid of this. What happens is, behind this, you wouldn't be able to access your files. This takes over the computer. You can't do anything. You have to, at that stage, recognize that your files have been compromised. You don't know who has them on the web. So I'm going to move to the next slide. So 65% of breaches are traceable back to someone's identity being compromised. So this is my next really good tip, is that keep your passwords safe. Keep them 12 characters minimum, includes numbers, symbols, and capital letters. One of the industry standard is use a phrase like yellow brick house. Make it unique to you, only you'll know it, and it's easy to remember, and it's also complicated. It stops those brute force attacks where, the brute force attack will just it's an automated system that will keep trying to guess the password. That's because it's so long, it could take the system years to break something like that. So that's the really good part about having a complex password.
And change them regularly.
Change them regularly, at least once every 12 months is a good sort of point of reference. So that's going to bring me on to, so now I'm going to talk a little bit exclusively about EMS, which is Microsoft's answer to security on the cloud. So when you do choose to make that transition from, your server, or you do make that transition to the cloud, that system, it's got a lot of built-in security inside it. So you're not really having to think too much about security with EMS. It does it all for you because it's all automated and it's all up to date. It's firewalls, everything's built into this wonderful system that makes you so secure in the cloud. So I'm going to play you an EMS video very briefly.
Today's employees working from just about anywhere on just about any device. IT departments can hardly keep up. Not without a good device management system anyway. Lucky for you, there's Microsoft Intune. It's delivered via the cloud. It's secure and lets users work on the devices they want, using the apps they know and need, all through familiar tools on the infrastructure you already own. First, Intune works with the investments you've already made in Active Directory and System Center, so you can easily manage devices wherever they are. Since Intune is built on Azure Active Directory, you can enable a consistent identity experience using controls you're already familiar with. Next, Intune works whether you're managing everything in the cloud or have a hybrid deployment. You get complete control, either through System Center Configuration Manager or the Intune Management Console. Most importantly, Intune works seamlessly with Microsoft Office, so Office apps and data can be safely deployed, used, and managed across devices, enabling true productivity from virtually any device, anywhere. Finally, let's talk dollars and cents. With Intune, you license users, not devices. simplifying management and cost while effortlessly scaling no matter how many devices are in use. Intune is also available as part of the Enterprise Mobility Suite, which combines critical mobility components like hybrid identity, information protection, and mobile device management. It's an ideal option for maximizing performance, functionality, and return on investment, and it's only available from Microsoft.
So just while that video was playing, we did actually have a question come in for you, Catherine. Do you recommend using sites like LastPass?
Yeah, so I've never used LastPass myself. I use something called PassPack. Yes, absolutely do recommend it. I think it's a really great way. So just for everybody listening, I'm just going to explain what I believe LastPass is doing, or software like it. What it is, it's a password management system. So basically, you're putting in on an application or on the internet, you're putting your password into a repository that stores all your passwords. That's a really great system of doing things. I use it 100%. It's a really great way of organizing passwords. Completely recommend it. So yes, I do. Now I'm just going to go back. We're just going to talk about EMS a little bit more. So what the video you just watched was EMS. So EMS is, like I said, it's a cloud security system. The fantastic thing about cloud security is that you have so much control over your data, where it's being assigned, what departments it's being assigned into. Another really big part about security, and something that a lot of people don't really think about, is that we never really attribute user fault as a security issue when it really is, or we don't attribute something like data leakage, which is maybe an old employee leaving the company and taking their data with them, like your sales leads. With EMS and that video you just watched, it demonstrated that you can wipe your company devices after they leave the building. So if someone was to walk out of the building today, you can wipe all the data off the device. And so you have so much control. You also assign data to certain departments where nobody else can view it. And all the documents that you create that has sensitive information, like credit card details, EMS detects that really sensitive data and classifies the documents for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So a lot of the built-in security and EMS stuff you just don't have to worry about. You don't have to be thinking about it day to day.
Awesome, thanks, Kath. Now, and again, if you want to know more information about that particular or security in general, please give us a call or ask us any questions, because it really is becoming a big issue. Okay, so just to finish off, just a couple of things to finish off, and thank you again for hanging on for so long. Office 365 integrates with a lot of different things, and so from anything from your mail to Dynamics to a number of things that we've showed you today, it all integrates together. And so having one technology, one of the problems we constantly get talked about, or sort of talked to us about, is integrating different systems. So we're a Microsoft shop, so we use Microsoft for everything, but Microsoft also integrates with a lot of other software. So if someone is using Salesforce, for example, as your CRM, Office 365 will integrate into Salesforce.
Yeah, so we had a question actually about the reports that get done on Salesforce at the moment. Somebody has them going into Dropbox, a back-end report. So can that be then put into SharePoint instead, so they can not use Dropbox anymore? So Gavin, obviously the question to that would be yes, they can.
Absolutely. So it really is open. It's not open source because obviously it's Microsoft's, but it does integrate with so many different systems. So you can use Office 365 to run the majority of your business, but if you're using Salesforce because that works, or you're using some sort of ERP system, or you've got, for example, Mild or Xero, they integrate in with Office 365. So it is a fantastic tool to be with your business. Before we finish, I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. We just wanted to show you one thing. We've made this live as of today from our website. If I just go to here, if we go to our website right now, which is cloudmadesimple.co.nz, we've actually just launched these plans here for hosting. So if you've got Office 365 with us, we've actually just really reduced the cost of hosting. So you can actually have website hosting now with us for basically $6, including GST. And for the premium for business web hosting, it's going to be $14.99. So that is unbelievably cheap for the web hosting services that we do have. And we've also got things like WebCare. And WebCare is a product where it actually looks after the security of your website. So it actually stops viruses hitting your website. So that's the WebCare side of things. But as of now, the pricing now is out there. We'll be sending around an email shortly to let everybody know about this particular promotion within it. And as far as managed services is concerned, in the next couple of months, we're going to have some pretty exciting announcements around that and the new structure of that. Okay, so if there's any questions, please either or just send us an email at questions@cloudmadesimple.com.nz.
We've got a question right now, actually.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we had a question come in. I think we just briefly went over it, but not in a lot of depth about the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint.
Yep.
So both features are obviously available in Office 365, but what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. OneDrive is for your own personal documents. So it might be for a file that you've been sent, an Excel file, which you don't want to put into the company portfolio of documents. So that's for you. You can share that document, but it sits what's called in your OneDrive, in your personal file. So it's like files that you would set up traditionally on your server under your name or on your own desktop. So you create files and you put the documents in those particular files. So you choose when you want to share them. Typically, the documents that you put in SharePoint are to be shared amongst your team members. So that's the difference.
Okay, that's brilliant. Somebody actually asked a question about Smart Sheets as well. So can Smart Sheets, do they still have to use Smart Sheets if they're using Office 365 for collaborating on documents? I'll take that question. So you actually have Excel, which is in Office 365, and that can actually take over from Smart Sheets. It might take a little bit of a while to get used to it, but essentially it has the same functionality that you can have with Smart Sheets. But again, if it's too much, if you have too much going on in Smart Sheets, you can always stay with it, and there is integration available again. But it would be just an extra tool to add on to it. That's all the questions that we've had come through via email and chat. But like Gavin said, any more, please send them through to us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Fantastic. So again, thank you so much. We're going to be making this video available on our website very, very soon. So again, thank you very, very much for your time. And as I said, we'll send this link out. So from Kath.
Thank you.
From Deep.
Thank you very much.
And the rest of the team, thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.